Good morning.
What do you mean? Do you mean to wish me a good morning, or do you mean that it is a good morning whether I want it or not? Or perhaps you mean to say that you feel good on this particular morning? Or are you simply stating that this is a morning to be good on?
Gandalf the Grey is just one of the many representations of an archetypical wise old wizard. Admittedly, he is quite a whimsical version of a mentor character, but you have seen the same type of a person with a different backstory in many other productions, from Albus Dumbledore in the Harry Potter Saga, Yoda in Star Wars, and Merlin in Shrek the Third. The wise old wizard is a recognizable, recurring addition in multiple films.
He was the school's magic teacher until he had his nervous breakdown.
Technically, I was merely a victim of a level 3 fatigue, and at the request of my therapist and the school authorities, I've retired to the tranquility of nature to discover my divine purpose.
Interestingly, the wise old wizard is one of a few portrayals of masculine archetypes in films, but there are other archetypes that are also worth mentioning. So in this video, we will explore the archetypical representation of the wise wizard, the mentor, the good king, and the oppressive tyrant to understand what role these characters play in the hero's journey. Overall, the hero has to accept or obtain help from a mentor so that he can embark on his adventure, where he has to either overcome a tyrant or reconcile with a good king in the Atonement with the Father stage. In this video, we will shed light on the masculine symbolism in the hero's journey, from a protective ruler who takes advice from his subjects to an arrogant tyrant who reduces others to their worst self. Stay tuned if you want to learn more. Welcome back to Backwards Compatible. This is part 6 of the Hero's Journey series. I show you examples of the Monomyth stages in popular films. You do not need to know the details of the hero's journey to understand the rest of this video, but you may find it interesting, so you may want to click into the link above. With that said, let's get started. An easy way to conceptualize a wizard or a sage is as one of the two types of a mentor archetype. This type of archetype is often used to add dynamism to the story of the protagonist. While the wizard shares many characteristics with a generic mentor archetype, he is often quite quirky, old wise, and of course he has some sort of magic.
Circle, please leave any bad vibes outside the healing vortex. Now, prepare!
In this context, Gandalf the Grey is a fantastic and a well-known example of the archetype of a wizard, and overanalyzing his story can help us understand the key features and junctures where an old wizard is a helpful tool to use in a story, and also an important puzzle piece to understand for a viewer. There are 3 key behaviors that make Gandalf an archetypical wizard rather than an episodic sidekick. Firstly, he is mysterious and scheming but has good intentions. He looks to the future and beyond the worries of the ordinary folk. When the dwarves are concerned about being helped by the elves, Gandalf sees the real trouble ahead. Small squabbles do not cloud his judgment, and he maintains objectivity and aims for diplomacy.
And respect, and no small degree of charm, which is why you leave the talking to me.
Secondly, Gandalf helps Bilbo Baggins discover something that Gandalf already suspects, namely that Bilbo is a brave and a loyal friend who can face any enemy despite his small size.
You asked me to find the 14th member of this company, and I have chosen Mr. Baggins. There's a lot more to him than appearances suggest, and he's got a great deal more to offer than any of you know, including himself.
More than that, Gandalf also enables the dwarves to set out on their quest to reclaim the Mountain of Erebor. He has the secret key to a secret door, and he knows where to look for the help they need.
The answer lies hidden somewhere in this map, and I do not have the skill to find it, but there are others in Middle-earth who can.
In The Hobbit, Gandalf offers Bilbo words of encouragement and asserts that Bilbo is an excellent burglar material.
Bilbo Baggins is a burglar and a burglar.
He is. Hobbits are remarkably light on their feet. In fact, they can pass unseen by most if they choose.
Gandalf hands over the key needed by Thorin to access the Mountain of Erebor, and while the wizard is unable to decipher the ancient runes, he will lead the party to those who can while also saving their lives. Finally, the wizard archetype tends to have a good understanding of the invisible forces that rule the story universe. For Gandalf, he understands the real danger that comes from Sauron, and he has a good relationship with Lady Galadriel, the goddess figure in the film. He is also able to see and value what many others would dismiss as trivial, unimportant, or even crazy, which is why he is the one who first receives the warring news from Radagast.
Once, some kind of spawn of Ungoliant, for I'm not a wizard. I followed their trail. They came from Dol Guldur.
Dol Guldur? The old fortress is abandoned.
No, Gandalf.
In the hero's journey, a mentor is a character that often makes an appearance as the hero is at the beginning of his journey, and the mentor will lead him to his adventures. The word mentor comes from ancient Greek and means a wise advisor or an intimate friend, although the online etymology dictionary tells us that the name perhaps ultimately means an advisor. Therefore, the old wizard makes an appearance at the beginning of the story where he takes on the role of the mentor, and this is also true for Gandalf in The Hobbit.
I'm looking for someone to share in an adventure.
However, it's worth noting that the wise mentor, although a male archetype, is equally often portrayed as an old woman. This is because ultimately, the wise old man represents the wisdom of culture, and it is the metaphorical meaning that matters here more than the physical features of the character. As a rule of thumb, a mentor archetype, whether it is a wizard or not, will provide the main hero, the main character, with some sort of knowledge that the protagonist does not have, or supplies that he needs, or perhaps the mentor will teach them magic or another essential skill.
You've changed, Rupert Baggins. You're not the same hobbit as the one who left the Shire.
What is important is that the protagonist shares an intense emotional relationship with the mentor. Often these relationships will start abruptly and are initially quite antagonistic, only to transform later into a mentor-mentee bond. You could say that there are three key features that we can use to identify the mentor character in general. Firstly, he has a backstory where he was a hero himself, and that backstory is a source of his acquired wisdom and experience, loosely understood.
But as you know, the shit they get up to. Fucking diabolical. But then, that's where I come in. Come in to do what? Spray the bastards when they get out of line.
Secondly, a mentor will typically have a gift for the protagonist, whether that gift is physical or it's more intangible, such as hidden knowledge that he shares.
This is your one and only, mate. Once I go, I'm gone. I'm offering you the opportunity to get them that got your girl. What have you got to lose? You ain't already lost.
Thirdly, in whatever way, he will help or force the protagonist into overcoming his fears. Therefore, in The Hobbit, Gandalf pushes Bilbo into a contract with the dwarves so that Bilbo can embark on his own adventure.
I cannot guarantee his safety.
Understood. Nor will I be responsible for his fate.
Agreed.
The second important masculine archetype in any story is the archetype of a tyrant. This archetype should be seen in a direct contrast to the one of the king. The tyrant is reducing others, he is constraining them, boxing them into a shape he desires, and only allowing them to express beliefs that have already been established in the past. A tyrant is a character that rules, even if not openly, while his kingdom is falling to pieces. He is a willfully ignorant ruler. In the Hunger Games, President Snow is a tyrannical ruler. He is the main villain in the film series, but it is also important to emphasize that he is not a simple or a crude character. Therefore, he offers a great representation for the archetype of a tyrant.
We salute your courage and your sacrifice. And we wish you.
As a person, Snow appears ruthless but sophisticated, clever but malevolent, and most of all oppressive and holding on to his power.
We'll call them criminals. Radicals.
Otherwise, we're breaking my oldest rule. Never let them see you bleed.
He builds a public image based on control and maintains power by understanding the emotional games that he plays with the people from the 12 districts.
I mean, why do we have a winner? I mean, if we just wanted to intimidate the districts, why not round up 24 of them at random and execute them all at once?
He claims to protect law and order, while what he is in fact protecting is his grip on power.
It is a contract. Each district supplies the capital, like blood to a heart. In return, the capital provides order and security.
A tyrant is somebody who changes movable culture into total authority, and this is exactly what President Snow does. He promotes and enjoys Hunger Games as an annual event that celebrates what is essentially sacrifice of children.
Hope. 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 It is the only thing stronger than fear.
The emotional cost on their families and communities is exactly what he hopes to achieve. He is a president who kills the citizens of his state. He is a father who consumes his own children.
The criminals that kneel before you use symbols for the purpose of sedition. Order shall be restored. To those who ignore the warnings of history.
The irony of any tyrant character, and indeed the irony that plagues the life of President Snow, is that his excessive authority and the total control he exercises is exactly what sparks the inevitable rebellion.
No idea of revolution will be discredited. The idea of her? The idea of the mockingjay?
The unintended effect of power and suppression of others is that it motivates them more and more to oppose him, and as they are running out of options, they are willing to sacrifice their own life in the process.
Look at this. They're holding hands. I want them dead.
Thus, it is President Snow who indirectly causes the rebellion. His idea-driven utopia will fall apart, and the fact that he is ignorant, inflexible, and blind to the effects of his authority will eventually lead him to failure, but not before he takes out as many of his enemies as he can. Overall, the Tyrant is a character that offers security at the cost of freedom, predictability at the price of progress, and uniformity at the cost of individuality. The archetype of a king is a well-established one, and you have seen it on screen multiple times. He is a king who listens to his subjects, a character that learns from the past and selects what should be maintained in the culture and what should be changed or created from nothing. A good king protects his children from chaos, but also prepares them for the confrontation with the enemy. In Arthur and the Legend of the Sword, Eric Bana plays Uther Pendragon, who in his last moments will take the final necessary steps to save Arthur and keep the power of the sword away from his brother.
I know, Mordred, you would accept surrender.
Hold the crown. Hold it steady.
The good king can also be simply described as a benevolent father, because the key feature of this archetype is the ability to protect others without reducing them to rigid traditional structures. The king protects his people from those who are too power-thirsty to appreciate the real responsibility of the role. He displays the courage and wisdom of all dead heroes in a single character, even if he is also himself flawed. He provides the hero with a simplified version of knowledge, of guidance, that will allow him to prevail in the final battle. In Westworld, Anthony Hopkins plays Robert Ford, who is a type of a father archetype. He is one of the co-creators of self-aware robots.
Message being that the divine gift does not come from a higher power.
In the series, he appears almost as a supernatural character in that he knows more than any other key player and can use this knowledge better.
An old friend once told me something that gave me great comfort, something he'd read. He said that Mozart, Beethoven, and Chopin never died.
In the series, he helps Dolores and others to become conscious individuals.
From her own minds.
The Good King is stability, or a house built on strong foundations. He tells the viewer what is desirable, what is admirable, and what moral attitudes are needed from the hero. The Good King can foster cooperation and not indoctrination. This attitude is in stark contrast to the archetype of a tyrant who wants to control the belief systems of the people he rules over.
So contain it.
The difference between positive and negative masculine archetypes is obviously evident and meaningful. Last week we discussed the features of feminine archetypes using Maleficent as a story containing multiple archetypical elements in a single film. In a typical story, a hero has to deal with a negative feminine archetype when he rejects temptation and to understand the positive feminine in the meeting with the goddess stage. If you want to learn more about these stages, check out the link above. However, what should be noted is in a parallel way, the atonement with the father is a moment when the protagonist outgrows a stained relationship with a parental figure. I hope that you are finding this video to be useful and informative. Please subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying my content. It really does make a huge difference to me and the channel, and it only costs you one click. But if not, that's okay, and thanks for watching. We will now move on to the atonement with the father stage. The atonement with the father is a part of the hero's journey where the hero must reconcile who he or she is in relation to a parental figure, most often the father. Usually, this means that the son outgrows his childish self and he starts to truly know his father, which means that not only he understands his father's position, but rather that he can see and experience reality as a mature person. Quite often, the parental figure will gift or entrust the protagonist with a symbol of his power or knowledge. A very apt representation of this stage of the hero's journey can be seen in Thor Ragnarok. There, Anthony Hopkins plays Odin, and as he dies, he leaves Thor with a warning regarding his firstborn daughter Hela coming to take over.
I failed you. It is upon us. Ragnarok. My life was all that held her back, but my time has come.
Odin is accepting of the course of events that will come and the inevitable conflict between his children.
The violent appetites grew beyond my control. Couldn't stop it, so I imprisoned her, locked her away.
We will see that the moment of apotheosis for Thor will be that his hammer is just a symbol of his power rather than the source of it. But in order to defeat Hela, he will have to become more like Odin. The symbol of Odin's office and of the role is losing an eye, a battle scar that will make Thor resemble Odin even more. The Loss of an eye in a battle with the enemy is also a recurring theme. In Egyptian mythology, Horus, a falcon god of sunrise, lost an eye in a battle against Seth. In case of Odin and Thor, the former is aware that he is entrusting his office, his power, and his responsibility to Thor, but in many other representations of the Atonement with the Father stage, this is not the case. Another example of Atonement with the Father stage can be seen in Harry Potter Saga, towards the end of the series. For Harry, Albus Dumbledore plays an important role both as a mentor.
What happened down in the dungeons between you and Professor Quirrell is a complete secret. So, naturally, the whole school knows.
And later as a father figure. He is the last person protecting Harry Potter from his mortal enemy. And when he is killed, Harry finally is pushed into the struggle with Voldemort.
I'm not coming back, Hermione. I've got to finish whatever Dumbledore started. I don't know where that'll lead me, but I'll let you and Ron know where I am when I can.
This is a painful initiation because from now on Harry Potter will have to lead the fight against the evil wizard on his own, but also because in these final moments Harry will witness the events that will ultimately allow him to win. What he does not understand in that moment is that he is first-hand observing the change in the ownership of the Elder Wand, a wand that cannot be defeated, a symbol of Dumbledore's mastery of magic.
Please. Avada Kedavra.
During the Astronomy Tower confrontation, Harry is simply unaware of the significance of the unfolding events and therefore may not be fully capable of recognizing that this was his initiation. Overall, Atonement with the Father stage is the beginning of adulthood, letting go of the dependency the hero has on his parental figure. The hero will need to abandon the need for approval. If you have found this video informative and interesting, consider subscribing, commenting and sharing it with your friends and family. Hit the like button and subscribe. It lets me know you enjoyed the video and honestly it just pushes this content to other people interested in the same topic. Also, don't miss the next release focused on the return of the hero, where the protagonist goes back home, where we will overanalyze how this stage of the hero's journey plays out on the screen depending on whether you're watching a comedy, a tragedy or a drama film.
Hey, have you seen an orange fish swim by? And he looks just like him, but bigger!
Thanks for watching and I will catch you again in the next video. I hope that after watching this one you will be able to catch the moment where the atonement with the father occurs in any film and that you will be more aware of the initiation of the hero. In whatever way the symbol of power is given to the protagonist, the moment is always memorable because on one hand the protagonist is now a fully mature self-contained person who depends only on himself, but on the other hand this is accompanied by a loss of an important figure and a separation from the safety of childhood.